There are some insane combos in Battlefront 2. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the best combos for every saber hero and villain, with tutorials, in-game examples, ideal star card loadouts, and much more. The combos I'll be showing you aren't just the best because they deal a lot of damage, it's because they are reliable to pull off, are actually useful in games, and can be done on command consistently. To illustrate this, I'll be rating every combo in 4 different aspects: how much damage it deals, how consistently it can be performed, how easy it is to learn, and how cool it is when done successfully, which is obviously very important. I'd highly recommend watching to the end, as there are some lethal ones you won't want to miss out on. As always, if you enjoy the advanced Battlefront 2 content I post on this channel and want to see more, consider subscribing, and drop a like if you want more videos like these. We'll start by looking at General Grievous. His best combo is a double parry followed immediately up by claw rush. This is very effective, as even without cards you can deal a quick 400 damage that's very hard to avoid, and with his star cards with Sith trained and lineup weaklings you can deal 500 damage, and the enemy can't do nearly anything about it. If you don't know, a parry is a quick attack where you counter your opponent's attack by blocking and pressing swing as they hit your block. A double parry is when you immediately follow up a parry with a swing, and you do it so fast that they can't block the 2 hits. For those that don't know, you can get 2 hits on the same enemy with 1 claw rush by hitting them in the first few seconds of the animation, and then doubling back and hitting them as you get up out of the animation. This is what's called a double claw, and you can implement it in this combo to deal even more damage. If you get the double parry, and then the claw rush, and then the double claw, it becomes a one-shot combo with the star cards, and it's very dangerous. A little tip with claw rush is that if you look at the ground or between your opponent's legs when you're going for it, at the floor, it often phases right through their block. For consistency, we're rating this quite high, because a double parry is pretty good with Grievous given his first swing animation is super quick, and the claw rush when done correctly is often really hard to avoid because you're already very close to your opponent. And to top it off, this combo is actually pretty easy, because once you get the double parry, all you have to do is click one button and look at your opponent, and you can get 500 damage off the bat. So all round we're rating this combo pretty high because it's consistent, it's pretty easy, and it deals a lot of damage, especially with the star cards. Next we'll look at Darth Vader. His best combo is a saber throw into a choke, focus rage to deal more damage, and then 2 hits from behind. The way you throw the saber throw here is very important. You want to throw it about at your enemy's shin level, assuming you're not fighting Yoda, as what this will do is make it so that the saber throw goes through your enemy and then hits the floor just behind them and then bounces back quickly. It can be very hard to dodge, especially if you time it so that you throw the saber throw after your enemy has just dodged twice. Then, immediately when they get hit by the return of the saber throw, you want to choke. This works for the same reason that the double parry works. Since your opponent just got hit, their block has been dropped, and so you can take advantage of this and choke quickly, and they won't be able to block it. Then obviously you just do the focus rage, and you can get the 2 hits any way you like. A common way to do it nowadays is to dodge behind and then animation cancel and follow up with a hit, or you can hook swing and follow up a hit like this. If you're newer to the game, you can just dodge behind them and swing twice, and it will probably still work most of the time. The damage is pretty good. With no star cards, it'll deal 610 damage, and with star cards, it deals 660. I'd say it's pretty consistent, but then again, Vader's choke is one of the most buggy abilities in the game, and half the time your enemy just drops, so I'm rating it average for consistency. Although I must say it is pretty easy to do, especially if you're timing it so that you throw the saber throw when your opponent has just dodged. However, if you're using Vader in 1v1s, especially with his cards, then it's not cool to do this. I don't care what you say. Moving on, we have Obi-Wan, who's one of the best duelists in the game. He doesn't have a lot of great combos, but there is one that deals a surprising amount of damage for only hitting your opponent 3 times. The combo is a push, with a lunge, and then after you get 1 hit, you immediately defensive rush. If you don't know how to lunge, I recently made a very comprehensive guide on this mechanic, so that'll be sure to help you out with this combo if you're still learning. The damage is actually pretty decent, even though you've only hit your opponent 3 times. Without cards, it'll do 435 damage, and with cards, it does 475 damage, the cards being forward, Obi-Wan's extra damage card on defensive rush. This is assuming that your push has been charged up half the way, but honestly this doesn't change the damage too much. In terms of consistency, it's pretty good, especially if you land that push and get the first hit on the lunge, you're almost always going to get the defensive rush afterwards. For some people this will be quite an easy combo if you're comfortable with lunging, but if you're not, it'll be quite difficult. And if you pull it off, it is pretty slick, getting those 2 hits immediately and then dodging right afterwards. It does look pretty cool. The next combo is going to get a little bit more advanced. Luke's best combo is a push cancel into a frame trap and then a repulse and 2 hits. A push cancel is essentially an animation cancel, but at the peak of that tiny jump, you press push instead of swing. You have to press it slightly faster than the swing, so the timing is a bit harder, but when done correctly, the push animation will cancel quickly, and then that allows you for an immediate follow-up. If you don't know how to animation cancel, then I'd recommend going watching my guide. I've probably made a new one by now, but if you're watching this video after it's been recently uploaded, there is an older one for you to watch. Next, you have the frame trap. All that means is that you have to swing at your opponent as they're being pushed away from you. This will make them air recovery, which means they get shot up into the air rather than away from you. You can then immediately repulse and then lunge onto them for 2 hits. With no cards, it'll deal 555 damage, and with Epicenter and Intensify equipped, it'll deal 655 damage, assuming that Luke is about halfway charged with the Intensify card. I'm rating this a 3 out of 5 for consistency, just because sometimes after the frame trap, the repulse won't knock them again, and then you won't be able to get the second hit. And for ease, I'm making it a 2 out of 5, as even just doing the push cancel alone will be quite tricky for most players. But if you do manage to pull this combo off, it will look pretty cool. Next, we have Anakin, and he's pretty well regarded for having some of the best combos, but they're honestly not as good as some of the ones I'll be showing later. So, his best combo is a Heroic Might into pull and then 2 intentionally placed hits from behind. Without star cards, this will deal 510 damage if performed correctly, and with the card's massive strikes and raw strength, it'll deal 600 damage. Now the key with this is to get the extra damage by hitting your opponent from behind. This either involves letting them land behind you and then timing it with a jump attack, or dodging through them and then turning around and going for some swings. Either work, but if you master the jump attack into base swing, you can get the hits nearly every single time, making this combo very consistent. Doing this combo perfectly is actually quite hard, especially when trying to land Heroic Might against a good opponent. Most of them will just wait it out and then double parry it, so you do have to be quite skilled to actually pull this off. And since it is Anakin, it is pretty cool, but it's not that special since everyone knows how to Heroic Might and then pull. An honorable mention is double parrying into Passionate Strike. It's pretty quick and it can deal a lot of damage, especially if you're running massive strikes. Most opponents won't see it coming, and even if they get a few trades, you'll always win, since Anakin has so much health and the damage you deal is pretty decent. Next we have Darth Maul, and if you remember from the intro, this guy's got some pretty crazy combos. We'll cover 2 of his combos. The first one is a parry into a saber throw and then a dodge, either forwards through your opponent or backwards away from them, depending if you want to back off or be more aggressive. The damage is decent, but that isn't really the point of this combo. It's more of a very fast way to shut down your opponent or start a powerful attack. Without his star cards, it'll deal 290 damage, and with the card's accelerated throw, it'll deal 350. But keep in mind that this damage is dealt in less than a second, and so your opponent won't know what's hit them. In terms of consistency, it works almost every time. The only way it won't work is if you throw the saber throw incorrectly, or if your opponent dodges just after getting parried. It's honestly not too hard to do, you just have to learn how to parry and then quickly move your finger to the ability button and then dodge, so once you get the timing down, it's pretty easy. Next, we'll move on to Maul's more deadly combo, and that is a choke into a frame trap, then a saber throw, and the jump attack. The frame trap here is different to the one with Luke. What we're trying to do is time it so that our enemy will knock us out of the choke animation. Once you get knocked out of the animation, you have to swing just as they are about to get thrown away, and if done correctly, they'll get shot up into the sky. Then, you point your camera upwards and throw the saber throw. It can hit them twice if you line it up properly. Then you jump up to get the final hit. When done correctly, it'll deal 517 damage, and with the card's accelerated throw, it'll deal 577. The consistency is actually pretty good. Most of the time when you go for this frame trap, if you land it, it'll all work out well, but the problem is it is not easy to land, and it's quite risky since if you didn't know, you can't block in Maul's choke animation. So if you fail this or do it too late or too early, your opponent has pretty much got time to get 2 free swings on you, which will deal permanent damage. It's not an easy one to pull off, but if you do manage to get the full thing down, it is one of the best feelings in the entire game. Next, we have Yoda, and I mentioned this in my recently posted Yoda guide, but he doesn't have a lot of combos. One that is pretty good though is if you land a double parry, you can then follow it up with his unblockable dash attack, and then use the stun lock mechanic that we've been talking about, that thing where you can't block if you've already been hit, to get a 4th hit. From this quick succession of unblockable attacks, you can get 485 damage without any star cards, and if you're running opposing the dark side, you can do 508. You can then potentially follow up with more dash strikes to continue the combo. It's pretty consistent, you just need to land the double parry and then try and predict the direction which your enemy's going to dodge. Luckily, most enemies will dodge backwards after being double parried, so you don't really need to move your camera at all. You just dash forwards and it should work. It's pretty easy as long as you land this double parry, but it's a bit harder than the other parrying combos we've mentioned because you do have this added element of the dash and then extra hit. Next, we've got Kylo, and I'll cover two combos for him, one with his freeze and one with his pull. For his freeze combo, you have to land the freeze, and then I think the best thing to do from here is do an animation cancel behind the opponent and then quickly chain it into frenzy. If done correctly, you can usually get the 2 hits off frenzy, meaning you'll get the first one after the animation cancel and then the third unblockable one. If you do manage to land all 3 of these hits, then the damage will be 355. And if you're running Bloodlust, the damage will be 395, which is a bit better. In terms of consistency, oftentimes they'll dodge the last hit or the first one just won't land. This is why I recommend the animation cancel because it's the fastest way to do this combo. His next combo, involving his pull, is pretty simple. You want to try and be as close to your opponent as possible so that when you pull and immediately frenzy afterwards, you can get a tiny frame trap. This can often result in getting the second hit, and then when they dodge away you can get the third, which is unblockable. Now, I'm stretching it a bit here and you'll probably only get the 2 hits most of the time, but it is definitely possible to get the 3 hits. If you do, you'll deal 355 damage without star cards, and with Bloodlust and Harsh Pull, you'll deal 465. The consistency is the same, if not worse than the last combo. You'll probably get 2 hits of the frenzy, but sometimes you can even get 1 if you're really unlucky. Now, the combo's pretty easy by itself, but you can make it harder to increase its consistency by doing an animation cancel pull. This is exactly the same as the Luke push we did earlier, except now you're pulling in the middle of the animation cancel jump. The reason this is better is because it cancels the pull faster, which means you can activate frenzy faster and then get a better frame trap. So this makes the difficulty much harder, but it does make it more likely to get 2 or even 3 hits of frenzy. For our final light side character, we have Rey. Now, to save my breath, I'm going to assume for all of these combos that you're running Insight and that you have Damaging Strike equipped. This star card is bugged if you didn't know, and so you just get the additional damage, which brings her dash strike damage from 130 to 169. The combo for Rey is to get a hit, then use dash strike and get 2 more hits. Now, the reason that I'm being super vague is because there's 4 ways I'm going to show you that you can do this, and they each vary with damage, consistency, and ease. The first one is a parry into dash strike and then you swing twice. It's definitely the easiest out of all of these, you just need to be quick with your fingers. It'll deal 559 damage and it's pretty consistent. The next is a parry into a dash strike and then a hook swing into a hit. This will do 599 damage, and the increase is because the second hits are both from behind, which deal extra damage. Now, there is a trade-off. It becomes much harder because you have to time it and turn your character correctly so that you're not completely missing the swing. This is my personal favorite out of the 4 I'm going to tell you because it's a good trade between damage and consistency. The next one is a hook swing into a dash strike and then 2 hits. The damage is pretty good. It deals 579 damage, and it's a bit easier than the last one since all you need to do is land the hook swing, and then from there it's pretty easy. You dash strike and swing twice. And the final one, which I don't think I've ever actually done in game, is a hook swing into a dash strike, into another hook swing and then a hit from behind, totaling a 619 damage. I'm going to assume that this is pretty hard to go for. I've never attempted it myself, but if anyone has, please let me know in the comments. I'm sure it would look absolutely insane. And for our last character, we have Count Dooku. This guy is a damage machine. His best combo, in my opinion, is to first activate Duelist and then get a parry into a stun and 2 hits. Now, lots of people are going to think that you should activate Expose Weakness as well, but I'll tell you why you shouldn't. Any normal player, after seeing Duelist and Expose Weakness, will not be swinging at your block, and how are you supposed to parry them if they're not attacking you? Duelist is a little bit less intimidating. Some advanced players will play more cautiously, but most people will ignore it since they don't have a massive blue overlay on their screen, like with Exposed Weakness. So, if you manage to pull this off, without any star cards it already deals 585 damage, and if you have Masterful Duelist and Initiative ready, it deals 695 damage. And the best part is, it's pretty consistent. It's just a parry and then you immediately press stun. And if you get it right and do it fast enough, then from there you just spam and you'll get the 2 hits, because Dooku's that fast. This combo is excellent for how easy it is because it deals so much damage and you can do it pretty consistently. And those were the best combos for every hero and villain in Battlefront 2. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. And until next time, have a great day, and I'll see you out on the battlefront.